Hi everyone, you're welcome to Social Pills channel once again, the right place to get just the right dose for your social challenges. I remain your chief host, Great Wonder. The topic for today is wrong perception. Perception is a mental judgment that we make concerning any matter. Sometimes in our interactions with people, there are certain things that will not come out very clear. And then within ourselves, we just go through them sometimes and then we make decision as to why some things happen or as to how certain things happen. This mental investigation within us and then the judgment that follows is what is called perception. Now, perception is something that plays out so much in the society today, and it has become a concern because lots of time the wrong perception is shared among so many people, and then so many other people have suffered for so many things that they are not even aware of, and sometimes they are also not even connected to it in any way. I give us a very good example. If as a friend you visited me and then I stay alone, we discuss for a while and then you eventually went back. If I come back and then begin to look for my phone, my mind will go around the issue and I may start thinking that you are the person that took my phone. Now, if I eventually judge in my heart that you are actually the person that took my phone, then that judgment becomes my perception about you in taking people's things. Now, it's possible that before you visited me, I might have gone to the bedroom without locking my door. And within that interval, some other person can observe that my door is open and has come to carry my phone. But because I did not observe it as at the time I came back from the bedroom, I can only judge with the fact that you are the only person that entered my room. Now, this is also a case that can make a wrong perception to arise in somebody's mind. So this is just a common example. Do you know that sometimes parents have wrong perception about their children? Other times, children have wrong perception about their parents. Siblings have wrong perceptions about themselves. Friends have wrong perceptions about themselves. Colleagues at work have wrong perceptions about themselves. Even the boss has wrong perceptions sometimes about his subordinate. And then sometimes subordinates have wrong perception about their boss. This is how perception plays in the society today. For you that is watching me right now, I don't know, maybe you might have suffered one wrong perception issue or the other. Most times it even happens and we don't even know. But it's possible some can eventually come to us because you hear somebody say that, so you are a nice person like this. I did not know. Do you know that so person said so thing about you? And all the while, I was just looking at you like one very bad person. Oh, very sorry. I don't know that you are like this. And you see, this is what happens most times in the society today. Because one person have issue with another person, he used that grudge and that hurt in him to now begin to say bad things, wrong things about this other person, simply because he feel he's not happy with that other person. So you see situations like Mr. A will now say certain things about Mr. B that is not even true about Mr. B. And then for Mr. C that is listening to Mr. A, if he is not very understanding, he may not even go an extra mile to see if what Mr. A is saying about Mr. B is true or false. And then you see Mr. C relating to Mr. B based on what Mr. A has told him. And this is just what is playing in the society today. Because lots of times, some of these issues, these social issues, they happen, and sometimes we don't even have an opportunity to investigate into them. Unlike in the crime case, where if police enters a crime scene, what they do is to arrest people that they can find there, and these people are called suspects. So our perception most times is just suspicion, arising from suspicion. Now what police people do is that they will keep these people in custody and then begin to make investigation to get the actual issue that happened in that environment. So for those that are not culpable, they will be set free and let go. But in this case of perception, you discover that the investigation only goes within our mind, and then whatever side we tilt on, we just make decision and judgment on those sides. Just like this guy, who might eventually conclude that it is his friend that picked his phone, without even remembering that he had gone to the bedroom without locking his door. And then the actual thing that happened there was that it was even a neighbor of his who came to pick up something or to borrow something that eventually took the advantage that he was not inside and took the phone. So this is how perception plays. There are certain people out there, you might be a wife or you might be a husband, you are having a wrong perception about your wife, or you are having a wrong perception about your husband, and this perception forms the basis for which we relate to the other person. And this is what is causing so many issues today. There are certain things that we should come out to ask, to demand for explanation outrightly, rather than just carry the perception that we have about this person and then form a decision for which we now deal with them afterwards, and on a more serious ground, for which we now begin to tell people about these people. This has led to so many things: character assassination and loss of opportunity to people who actually are not even connected to some of the things that we judge them for. So what is your perception about people, and how far do you carry your perception about people to others, or how far do you work with your perception about others? Do you really investigate to see that these things actually are true, or it is just that I am having the wrong perception about the situation? We need to ask ourselves this question and go an extra length to see that we gather enough information and the right and true information about situations before we form perceptions that we take to other people concerning other people. Because it is a bad one. Certain people have gone to jail for this same very perception issue. Because your neighbor comes home late does not mean that he is a criminal. Certain people just love certain things, and then it puts them at a disadvantageous position. But we should not just carry some of these things and then use the perception that we derive from them and then begin to work with them. So if there is a theft in the neighborhood, and then you saw your neighbor enter into his house around 12 p.m., does not mean that he is the one that went for that theft. It can form a basis for suspicion for which investigations can be done, but it should not be that we should now carry this perception within us, this very investigation that go through our mind alone, and then judge that he is the person that actually went for that theft. Because these things happens. Mr. A observes Mr. B comes into his house late, and then there was theft issue the next morning. What happened most times is that Mr. A is not even confronting Mr. B, but what he will do is that he will just begin to spread his perception around, that he is very sure that it is Mr. B that must have done that theft. I saw him coming late in the night that same very day. You see, that you see him does not prove or does not make it to be real that he is the one that actually committed that theft. So this is how wrong perception has landed so many people in trouble. I know there are good perception also, because sometimes we just see people and then sometimes we just think that they are responsible. Not really that we have interacted with them, but maybe because of the way they talk, or because of the way they dress, or maybe because of the people we even see them with. We just have that perception that, okay, this person is responsible. Sometimes these good perceptions can be true, and sometimes it can be false. It can be false. So we should know how to carry our perceptions to other people, and we should try to see that we get the actual truth of any particular matter or person before we make our perception a basis for relating with people, or a basis for telling other people about other people. If this is the first video you are watching on my channel, I'm encouraging you to subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and also share to your social handles. Here on Social Pills channel, I remain your chief host, Great Wonder. Thanks for watching. Bye.